There is a question that rises again and again, whispered in conversations, debated in quiet corners of the internet, and wrestled with in countless hearts. Should men always make the first move when it comes to love, when it comes to commitment, when it comes to marriage? This question is bigger than dating etiquette. It reaches into identity, responsibility, and purpose. It touches culture, history, and the deepest desires of the human soul. And most importantly, it reveals something about what we expect from men, and what men expect from themselves. For generations, society painted a familiar picture. The man approaches. The man initiates. The man asks for the number, asks for the date, asks for the courtship, asks for the woman's hand in marriage. This pattern was more than tradition. It was seen as a mark of courage and leadership. But as the world changes, as gender roles evolve, and as people rethink relationship dynamics, many men feel caught in a strange tension. On one hand, the old script tells them that making the first move is their duty. On the other hand, modern narratives question every traditional expectation, often leaving men wondering if their initiative is even wanted. In the middle of this confusion, a deeper truth is waiting to be rediscovered. Not a truth about rules, but a truth about character. Not a truth about who should always take the first step, but a truth about what it means to act with intention, integrity, and confidence. There is something powerful about a man who initiates with purpose. Not because society told him to. Not because tradition demands it. But because he chooses to move toward what he values. Because he recognizes the weight of making a decision and accepts the responsibility that comes with it. A first move in love is not about dominance. It is not about control. It is not about proving masculinity. It is about having clarity. It is about knowing what you want and having the courage to reach for it. But men today are often hesitant. Some are afraid of rejection. Some fear being labeled too forward, too eager, too intentional. Some were told they must never show vulnerability. Others were told they must never assume that their interest is welcome. And so, many find themselves stuck in a loop of doubt. They wait for a sign. They wait for permission. They wait for certainty. But certainty never comes. And sometimes, the moment slips away. Many men today feel invisible, overlooked in a world where their efforts are often taken for granted. They carry unspoken fears that if they make the first move, it will not be appreciated. Yet if they do not make the first move, they are accused of lacking initiative. They are told to lead, but not too much. To pursue, but not too eagerly. To initiate, but only if the woman signals first. The result is confusion disguised as hesitation. But beneath it all lies a truth that does not change. In any area of life, growth belongs to those who choose to step forward. Whether it's in career, personal development, spiritual calling, or love, the person who initiates shapes the direction of the future. That does not mean men must always be the ones to start the conversation or ask for the commitment. Women are fully capable of initiating as well, and many do. But if a man believes in marriage, believes in building a future, believes in giving love a foundation, then initiation must become part of his character, not because of tradition, but because of purpose. Think for a moment about the kind of marriage many men dream of. A relationship rooted in trust. A partnership built on mutual respect. A home where love is not passive but active, not accidental but intentional. Such a union does not begin with hesitation. It begins with clarity. It begins with someone saying, "I choose you. I see something worth pursuing. I am willing to take the first step." The world may question male initiative. But silence has never built strong families. Hesitation has never created lasting love. Waiting for perfect circumstances has never produced commitment. In every great story of love, someone moved first. Someone reached out first. Someone risked first. Someone chose to act, even if they were unsure of the outcome. But here is the key. Making the first move does not mean men must bear all the responsibility of courtship. It does not mean they must chase endlessly. It does not mean they must do everything alone. A healthy relationship is mutual. A marriage thrives when both hearts respond, both hands extend, both souls engage. Initiation is only the spark. It is the beginning, not the entire journey. What matters most is intention. A man who makes the first move should not do so from fear of losing the woman. He should move from a deeper conviction that love and commitment are worthy pursuits. He should move not to impress, but to express. He should move not to dominate, but to demonstrate clarity and sincerity. There is strength in stepping forward, but there is also wisdom in stepping forward with humility. Sometimes the first move is a simple greeting. Sometimes it is expressing interest. Sometimes it is putting forth effort to get to know someone's heart. And sometimes the first move is asking a question that carries great weight. Will you marry me? Will you build a life with me? Will you walk with me through every season? That kind of initiation is not about tradition. It is about vision. Still, a question arises. What if a man makes the first move and is rejected? What if he opens his heart and it is not received? What if he takes the risk and it leads to pain? The truth is, initiation requires vulnerability. But vulnerability is not weakness. It is the birthplace of authenticity. It is the sign that you were willing to try, willing to grow, willing to move beyond fear. The man who risks rejection becomes stronger. He learns resilience. He learns courage. He learns to refine his approach, his understanding, his discernment. The men who never make the first move often carry regret. They replay what might have been. They imagine conversations they never had, connections they never explored. And over time, the weight of inaction becomes heavier than the sting of rejection ever could. Regret whispers in the quiet moments of life. It reminds men of the opportunities they let pass. It reminds them of the times they were silent when they should have spoken. Relationships are not built on perfection. They are built on movement. They are built on intention. They are built on courage. When a man takes the first step, he invites possibility. He creates space for a story to begin. And if the other person responds, the story becomes mutual, one step at a time. But let us look deeper. Why does this question matter so much in the context of marriage specifically? Marriage is one of the most significant commitments a person can make. It requires clarity, leadership, communication, and emotional presence. These qualities do not suddenly appear on the wedding day. They are built long before the vows are spoken. They are demonstrated in the earliest stages of connection. The willingness to initiate is a reflection of the willingness to shoulder responsibility. Not all responsibility, but the responsibility of being intentional, of being present, of being engaged. When a man makes the first move in a sincere way, he signals something powerful. He signals that he is not afraid to lead with his heart. He signals that he is willing to take responsibility for his choices. He signals that he values the woman enough to risk vulnerability. And in doing so, he lays the groundwork for a relationship that can grow with honesty and purpose. Yet we must acknowledge something important. There are women who long to initiate as well. Women who believe in expressing their interest. Women who are tired of waiting. Women who understand that love is not a one-sided pursuit. And that is a beautiful thing. A balanced dynamic does not diminish masculinity or femininity. It strengthens the connection, because both individuals bring courage to the table. But even when a woman initiates, even when she expresses interest first, men still face a deeper question. Will they respond with clarity? Will they communicate with intention? Will they take responsibility once the door has been opened? Because the first move is not always chronological. Sometimes the first move is emotional. Sometimes it is moral. Sometimes it is spiritual. And in many cases, the weight of long-term commitment still rests heavily on the man's sense of direction. Not because he must dominate, but because leadership in marriage is not merely about taking charge. It is about taking responsibility. Making the first move is not about chasing. It is about choosing. It is not about desperation. It is about direction. It is not about impressing. It is about expressing purpose. So should men always make the first move? The answer is both simpler and deeper than the question itself. Men should strive to be the kind of individuals who are willing to initiate when something truly matters. They should not feel pressured to perform tradition. They should feel called to act with intention. They should not feel trapped by expectations. They should feel empowered by clarity. And when they see something beautiful, something meaningful, something with the potential to blossom into lifelong partnership, they should have the courage to step forward, not because anyone told them to, but because great things rarely grow in the soil of hesitation. But let us go even further. The deeper question is not about who makes the first move. The deeper question is about who becomes the first to love with purpose. The first to forgive. The first to communicate. The first to grow. The first to take responsibility. The first to listen. The first to commit. In marriage, these are the first moves that shape the future. The ability to take initiative in moments of difficulty. The ability to lead with empathy. The ability to act even when emotions fluctuate. These are the first moves that build families, that strengthen bonds, that carry love through storms. A man who practices initiative in the early stages of love builds the muscle of initiative that will later support the weight of marriage. He becomes a man who does not run from responsibility. A man who does not hide from challenges. A man who does not wait passively for life to happen to him. Instead, he grows into someone who meets life with courage and direction. There are moments when a man will have to be the first to apologize, the first to soften his tone, the first to rebuild emotional connection. If he never learned to make the first move in the beginning, he may struggle to make the first move in the moments that truly matter. Marriage does not need perfection. It needs participation. It needs a willing heart. But hear this clearly. A man making the first move does not absolve a woman of her own responsibility in love. She too must respond. She too must initiate in her own ways. She too must express her intentions clearly. A relationship where only one person initiates is unstable. A relationship where both initiate in different moments is unbreakable. The point is not to resurrect old stereotypes. The point is to resurrect courage. The point is not to enforce tradition. The point is to encourage intention. Society may argue endlessly over who should step first. But relationships flourish when the more courageous one steps first. And when both grow courageous together. Imagine a world where men stopped fearing rejection. Where they stopped doubting their value. Where they stopped measuring their masculinity by the reactions of others. Imagine a world where men initiated not from pressure, but from purpose. Imagine a world where men recognize that love is not a battlefield where one must conquer, but a garden where one must plant. A man who plants seeds of sincerity, clarity, and initiative becomes a man equipped for a lasting marriage. Because marriage requires the same muscles that the first move requires. The muscle of courage, the muscle of clarity, the muscle of responsibility, the muscle of being willing to act rather than hide. So perhaps the question should change. Instead of asking whether men should always make the first move, we should ask this. Are you becoming the kind of man for whom making the first move is natural, not because of tradition, but because of purpose? Are you becoming the kind of man who sees value and moves toward it? Are you becoming the kind of man who knows what he wants and communicates it with integrity? Are you becoming the kind of man who understands that love grows stronger when someone dares to begin? The first move is an invitation. An invitation to connection. An invitation to clarity. An invitation to possibility. And when men make the first move with sincerity and vision, they send a message. A message that says, I am willing to try. I am willing to risk. I am willing to be intentional. I am willing to take responsibility for what I feel. And even if things do not unfold as hoped, the act of stepping forward builds character. It builds confidence. It builds resilience. It prepares a man for the future relationship that will one day welcome his initiative with gratitude instead of rejection. The right person does not punish courage. The right person recognizes it. No one is promising that initiative will always lead to success. But in the landscape of life, passive waiting almost never does. Love favors the bold, not the reckless, but the brave. The ones who move with intention, not impulse. The ones who speak with clarity, not pressure. The ones who pursue with respect, not entitlement. So ask yourself, what kind of love story do you want to build? One that begins with hesitation, doubt, and waiting for someone else to act? Or one that begins with a courageous step toward possibility? Great marriages are not built on the question of who moved first. They are built on the mindset of those who move at all. On the willingness to begin, to grow, to communicate, to commit. If you are a man listening now, understand this. The world may tell you to stand back, to wait, to avoid being too forward. But your heart, your purpose, and your future may require you to step forward. Not because you must, but because you can. Because someone has to move first. Because someone has to light the spark. Because someone has to demonstrate clarity. And sometimes, that someone is you. Not every first move leads to marriage. But every marriage begins because someone made the first move. And if you believe in love, if you believe in commitment, if you believe in building something meaningful, then do not fear the first step. Embrace it, not as pressure, but as purpose. Initiate conversations. Initiate understanding. Initiate growth. Initiate healing. Initiate love. And when the right person meets you halfway, The story that unfolds will not be defined by who moved first, but by how both of you continued moving, together, for the rest of your lives.